right, let's get into it. This is why I decided to step away from professional soccer. What made you fall in love with soccer? Favorite save you've ever made? What's your favorite goalkeeper glove? Honest opinion of InNOut. How do you make your hair look so healthy? Book recs for 2024. Hi, my name is Brittany Eisenhower. I'm a former D1 and professional athlete for the Orlando Pride and Angel City FC, and today we are going to be answering some of your most commonly asked questions. There have definitely been a lot of recent changes in my life so far, so I've put out some polls on Instagram and even here gathering your questions. I always have to have a little fun drink with me, so today we have Spindrift Grape Aid. It's probably one of my worst habits that I think I drink like 3 or 4 sparkling waters a day. Probably not stopping anytime soon though. Okay, let's get into it. I picked some top questions and I wrote them down in my notebook, so we're doing this old school edition. First up, we're gonna start with what made you fall in love with soccer? I started playing soccer at 3 years old. My mom kind of threw me into it. She just said I had a ton of energy and needed somewhere to use it. It's actually a funny story. I remember coming home after school and my mom let me know that she signed me up for another season of soccer after my first season, and I threw an absolute fit. I locked myself in the pantry. I was crying. I said I didn't want to play, and she asked me, well, what would you want to do if you weren't playing soccer? And I said, I just want to hang out and eat snacks all day. I mean, it sounds pretty good. But I'm definitely glad she made me stick with it because I did eventually fall in love with the game. Truthfully, at the beginning, soccer was an escape from what was a pretty turbulent home life. When I was on the soccer field, I felt like I could be fully myself and fully present. And I was really lucky to be on a really good team from the beginning. So if you're winning, it's fun. But I really think I fell in love with the game when I became a goalkeeper. This may answer another question of why I became a goalkeeper in the first place, but the answer is because honestly, I couldn't keep up with the other girls running around. And I was pretty fearless. I was not afraid to jump in front of the ball, get dirty, get on the ground. So my coach definitely thought it was a perfect position for me, and the way I was convinced was I was told I get to wear a special jersey and special gloves. I was sold like that. But once I found that position, I really fell in love with it. The feeling of making a big save was like nothing else. And I really feel like I was made for the position. Goalkeepers are definitely a different breed, and I was just born ready to throw myself in front of the ball. The time where I really remember soccer becoming a passion of mine and where the goal of playing professionally actually developed was when the US women's national team played in my hometown of Denver, Colorado. This was the first time I actually saw a women's team play live. Honestly, before then, I didn't even know it was an option to play professionally as a women's soccer player. I don't remember the score of the game. I don't remember how anyone played, but what I do remember is when the players came up to the fans after the game and took some pictures and signed some autographs. That's when I really realized these were real people and that this is a path that I could take seriously. So from that moment on, I made it my goal and my mission to play professionally. And I think having a deep purpose and mission really made me fall in love with the sport and do anything it took to get there. And honestly, to this day, it's crazy to say that I did it. So if you're out there and you're dreaming of being a professional soccer player or a professional athlete, just know that you can do it. We all started where you started, and I want to help you get there, so I hope videos like this and the rest of my content help you along your journey. Okay, next question. What's your favorite goalkeeper glove? So I've used a ton of different gloves over my career. I've used Nike, Adidas, Titan, and Allsport. Allsport were the last gloves I wore, and they were amazing. They are on the pricier side, but if I were to go back to goalkeeping tomorrow, they're probably the glove I would wear. I love Titan though. They were a great glove and they were at a much lower price point. I am actually going to be playing soccer in some capacity, so I actually will be wearing Allsport gloves. I'll let you guys know about that soon, but not today. Next question is favorite save you've ever made. The most special save I've ever made that's always gonna stick with me was in my first ever professional soccer game. I was an undrafted rookie and I earned a contract. In my first game, I felt like I had so much to prove. I had never been so nervous for a game in my entire life. So I ended up playing this game. I actually felt really good during it. I felt really confident and I ended up making the save of the week for that week. I made the save with my top left hand, and a couple months before, I was really struggling using my top left hand. I can make top right hand saves all day, but for some reason I was struggling so bad with my left hand. So to pull this out in my first ever professional soccer game, I was so proud of the work that I had done that year. So thankful for the coach that helped me get there in that short amount of time, and just so excited to start my professional soccer journey off on a confident foot. Next question, not at all soccer related. How do you make your hair look so healthy? I have always had super long hair. I really do think a lot of it's genetics, but I will say within the last year to 2 years, I've been taking better care of my hair and it has made such a difference. Up until then, I just used drugstore shampoo and conditioner, and I would get a haircut maybe once a year. Now I try to get regular haircuts so that my hair stays healthy. I do work with Vegamore, but this is not a sponsored post. I love their growth shampoo and conditioner. I use it all the time. It smells so good. And I feel like I noticed a huge difference with how healthy my hair looks and just reduced shedding around my hairline. I'm always wearing my hair up with soccer, and that has always been an issue for me. But they also have this grow serum, and I always use it on my hairline, and I really have noticed a difference. Other than that, I try not to use heat all the time, but when I do, I always use a heat protectant. Amika has a really good one that smells so good. Also, if you're an athlete, switching up if you do a low pony or a high pony can definitely help with breakage. Hair's looking a little crazy right now, but next question. This is such a good question. Honest opinion of InNOut. Growing up as a soccer player from Colorado, whenever we would travel to California, my team would freak out whenever there was an InNOut, and I just did not get the hype. I don't know if I didn't like burgers and fries back then or what was wrong with me, but I would hate it when our team would go to InNOut because I thought it was disgusting and overrated. But when I moved to LA 2 years ago to play for Angel City FC, I became obsessed. My husband became obsessed too, and that was part of the problem. He would always encourage us to go. I wouldn't go all the time, but there was nothing better than after a late game ended in downtown LA. We drove back home, hit up InNOut, got a double, fries and a shake. I think it honestly might be one of my favorite meals of all time. I do get the hype now. I do. I was so sad leaving LA because I thought there might not be InNOuts wherever I end up. I really didn't know where I was gonna end up this year, to be honest. We'll get into that later. But I'm back in Colorado and there's some InNOuts, so I'm a happy girl. Last question before we get into it are book recs for 2024. Currently, I'm reading The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not super far into it, but it has been so amazing. It's just been opening my mind up to how we're all creators and artists, regardless if you think you are or not. Especially posting on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, I feel like I have to be creative all the time, so it's really inspiring. One book I always recommend is Mindset by Carol Dweck. Whether you're an athlete, a parent, a teacher, you're in business, this is such a good book and totally shifted my mindset. I guess that's the title. Next one, Extreme Ownership, is really good. This one's so powerful and practical and gives you a lot of good insight into leadership. Definitely recommend checking these out. All right, let's get into it. This is why I decided to step away from professional soccer. I've been playing in the NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League, which is the women's professional soccer league here in the US for 4 years now. I played 2 years at the Orlando Pride and 2 years at Angel City. Coming out of college, like I said earlier, I was an undrafted rookie. I ended up earning my first ever contract at the Orlando Pride, and it was a dream come true. I got to train with some really amazing people and amazing coaches, and the amount I've grown on and off the field the last 4 years is, I don't even have a word for it. So I would not have traded these 4 years for anything. It was my childhood dream to become a professional athlete, and I did it. I enjoyed so much about it. I enjoyed being with my teammates, getting to learn so much about teamwork and leadership, and just some awesome moments in the locker room or on the road at hotels that I wouldn't trade for the world. I learned so much about myself in the process of becoming a professional athlete and chasing a big, scary dream, and then actually being a professional athlete. I learned that I'm a super on fire and motivated person if I have a purpose and a goal and a mission. And that mission for the longest time was becoming a professional soccer player and pushing myself to my limits, as well as trying to be the best teammate that I could possibly be. And for the last 4 years, that was extremely fulfilling. Not a lot of people say they get to live out their childhood dream, and for that, I am incredibly grateful. I know God put me there for a purpose, and I am so thankful. But over the last year or 2 years, I've been continually checking in with myself and my goals, praying a ton. I just didn't feel the same purpose and joy about continuing to be a professional soccer player. It was definitely my childhood dream, like I've said a million times, to be a professional soccer player, and I think if she had her choice, she would play until her legs fell off. I've always believed in the embrace the suck mentality. I really believe if I had a strong purpose that I could get through anything. And that was so true. Going into professional soccer and playing college soccer, I was willing to do anything and make any sacrifice for this goal. But when I got really real and raw and honest with myself, my current self, I feel like my dreams have shifted and changed, and I want to honor that. I'm definitely going to keep playing in other ways, and I'll always be involved in the game in different capacities. But I did feel ready to move on from the lifestyle of being a full-time professional soccer player and ready to move on to new dreams and new goals. If I'm being honest, making the choice to step away was much harder than just continuing to play. I have always been a soccer player. And I believe in myself. I know that I could have continued to make rosters and continued playing, but deep down I knew that's not what I wanted anymore and what brought me joy. I prayed a lot for God to reveal what my next step should be, and to be honest, when I felt like the answer was stepping away, I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to continue to play because it was safe and because it's what I knew, but everything inside me was telling me it was time to make a change. So this is me honoring that. It's scary, it's a new world, but I'm really excited for the next goals and dreams that I have. One of them being posting on here and helping players like you accomplish their dreams. I've learned so much over my 20+ year soccer career playing D1 and professional soccer that I want to share all the tools and lessons that I learned from my career to help you succeed on yours. So that's what I'm going to do. If you could drop in the comments any suggestions for what would help you most, that would be amazing. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe so we can crush some new goals together this year.